mean, I probably shouldn't say this in a podcast, but I don't like.
Do you think it was worth bringing Cristiano Ronaldo to Saudi Arabia?
So sometimes you do need to kind of swallow your pride a little bit.
How did they feel about your life now?
They always knew I was going to fly the nest.
Tell me about the wildest deal you've done.
And a lot of people look at Dubai and they see the surface level because this is the best place in the world.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Real Ones. Today I'm joined by the one and only Brown Ferguson, part of Brown Ferguson, and I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. Obviously, I'm your host, the one and only Joel Alexander, co-founder and CEO of Kendal AI. We're an AI assistant for brokerages, and today's episode is going to be all about diving into your story.
Yeah.
Right? You've been on several podcasts before. I've heard a lot of them. My brain is running on autopilot with all of the questions that everyone asked you. But I don't think real estate is about brokerages or tech companies, or I think it's about people.
100%.
And I think it's about relationships, and I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
So let's start with what did 7-year-old, Dylan want to become?
Wow. That is a big question to start it with. I like it.
Yeah.
I guess when I was young, I always liked working with people. I did a lot of acting when I was younger as well.
No way.
I like the sort of interaction with people, and just sort of, I just like to do things that were exciting. There was sort of a creative side to my brain as well. Yeah. And so I would say when I was young, that sort of, I just knew I liked to be around people. I liked to do things with people. Yeah. I like to put on shows, all that sort of stuff. It was just sort of, the typical sort of 7-year-old. And as things progressed, I guess, I think we're quite bad in this world for letting that kid inside of you die. And that sort of happened to me a little bit. And then I realized it was happening. And that's when I was going down the more corporate route of, going through the schooling system, going to university and doing a career that, at the end of the day, I didn't want to do, but it was just because everyone else is doing it. This is a path that you go down, right? And I realized that little kid inside of me was dying. I wasn't chasing any dream anymore. I was just going for, the norm of what you're meant to do. Then that's when I sort of cut ties with that, and I dropped out of uni. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I was doing engineering, mechanical engineering. I said, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I wasn't happy. I didn't really have any passion for it. I was going to lectures and just thinking that, I'm actually dreading getting this degree, because then I actually have to apply this stuff in the real world. I don't want to. It doesn't interest me. I started that. I then left uni and really dived into who I was. I left straight away and got 2 jobs. So I was working 7 days a week because I just want to be busy. And one of the jobs was in retail. I was a tailor selling suits. And I loved that because I got to deal with people from every single walk of life. And I got to tailor my approach to them as they came in, whether it was, a big swanky lawyer coming in, or whether it was a kid for a prom suit, it's his first prom and he wants a nice slim suit, or whether it was someone who has court the next week. Honestly, you had everything. And it was, how do you deal with these people? And I found it exciting. I found it challenging to sort of, figure out and sort of tiptoe around and then figure out exactly the best way to approach certain people. And that's really when I started to sort of upskill myself, and then I started digging into who I was and reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts. And from there, it's sort of, there's probably like a 4 to 5 year journey of me really doing a bunch of odd jobs here and there, working with people, digging into myself, and it's got me to where I am today. So
wow. Yeah. South Asian culture is horrible in that we don't actually allow our kids to go and, work in retail at all, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. As in most proud, at least I can speak for Indian parents. I won't speak for everyone else. They want you to get an engineering degree. They want you to become a lawyer, a banker, etc. But if you say, hey, I'm going to go and work, selling shoes in a shoe shop or whatever, they're just going to be like, what are you talking about? Get an education, go into, all well-intentioned, of course. But at the same time, I think because of that, a lot of us get into the employee trap as opposed to the employer kind of track, just because we don't have those life skills that you get from, someone different is walking through the door. What do they care about? It's not about what you're selling. It's about what they're solving for. right? And I think with the background that you have, you've just seen that like for compound for years. So yeah, and like that really speaks volumes in the context of how you've gone from like Allsop and Allsop to then White & Co. And like now you've got your own shop. And like, it's not a coincidence that there's that fast track progression. It's because you've hustled it out for the years, and like everyone that's seeing it now is probably just like, oh, this happened overnight, like, you know, but you know what it took.
Of course, even before real estate, it was a long journey to get here. And everything I've done, whether it was retail, whether it was whatever it was, I used to, you know, hand out flyers in the streets. I used to do loads of different things. It was all building character to get to the stage where I was ready to start my own company. And that's the important thing. You know, when I have kids, I think it's essential to put them through these sort of jobs like retail or hospitality, people where you're dealing with people constantly, and people won't treat you the best either when you're in those jobs. 100%. You know, you're sort of the bottom 100%. Of society, and I think you need to learn to deal with that rejection, deal with those difficult people, because again, it builds your character, and then when you face that again in the real world or later down the line, whether it's a corporate job, whether you're running your own company, real estate, whatever it is, you can deal with that, and you can apply that knowledge that you've already learned. So,
of course. And you know, on that note, it's kind of like you've made some pretty important decisions in the last few months, slash I guess it's been in the works for a while as well. Tell me about, you know, 3 of the most important decisions we make as people is where we live, you know, what we choose to do with our lives, and who we marry. Right? Or, you know, that's kind of like 3 of the main decisions. I'm sure there's others. How did you decide that Zay was the right partner to go into business with? And talk to me about the first time you guys met, because you're also a couple, I believe, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So tell me about the dynamics and all the fun stuff, like, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we met in real estate working at the same company. And I guess from there, from day one, there was synergy there. You know, you could see that, and you know, we actually closed a couple of deals together before even getting sort of romantically involved. So we'd already done business together. You know, we liked how each other worked in that aspect anyway, and things came naturally. And then as time went on, obviously the sort of spark ignited and all that sort of stuff. And you know, I guess the day I realized was like, you know, we'd stay up late at night having these long conversations where we're just talking about our vision for the future. And we realized that they actually kind of coincided. We had the same vision, and just sort of, we've gone about it a different way to get to where we are today. But essentially our vision was much the same. And I think that's the important thing is having that combined vision. You know, when you do have that combined vision between a man and a woman, I think it's the most powerful team in the world. You know, when a man and woman come together and actually start working towards the same goal, then nothing can stop you. And, you know, as time went on, it just came clear to us that it was like, you know what, you're the person I'm going to do this with, and, you know, we're going to take over. So
it's kind of like your Bill and Melinda Gates and like your Jeff and McKinsey Bezos, like, you know, that kind of I mean, very bad examples probably in the context.
I hope to get that
rich. But okay, that's really interesting. And what's kind of like, you know, the first thing that you have to do right now to set up this new brokerage? Obviously, there's a lot of people now. There's about 2,500 brokerages in the UAE, right? Like
that's crazy, right?
I think that's accurate. That number is updating every single day, I know. So everyone that's made a big buck in real estate thinks that they can start a brokerage. Tell us why Brown Ferguson is different.
Well, I suppose our approach is different because it came from a need that wasn't being serviced in the market. You know, if that need was being serviced, maybe we wouldn't have set up our own this quickly. But essentially, we just had our clients that were going through the big corporate brokerages, and they were dissatisfied with the experience. You know, from A to Z, it wasn't smooth. It was smooth to the point where they were dealing with me or dealing with Zay, and they loved our experience. But there's a certain point in a sales deal with a property when you have to hand that over to someone to do the back office work. And then all of a sudden, that's when the relationship would start to go a bit sour, and it you know, things would take longer than expected. There was miscommunication, and we just realized if we're going to be part of these big companies, we're not going to be able to have that quality control from start to finish. And the service that we provide is, you know, it's A-star, it's A-class. That's what we're obsessed with providing. And if we can't, you know, literally control every single stage, then we can't ensure that for our clients. And I'm not saying these other companies are bad for any of that reason. I mean, they operate well, and they're, you know, they're out to mass market, so they have to, you know, there's going to be some things that will fall down, and then, do you know what I mean? It goes without saying, but that's why we were like, you know what, we'll make our boutique firm, and then we can actually quality control everything, and we can make sure that the experience for the clients is A-star all the way throughout, because that's what we've seen. That's what our clients have come to us pretty much asking for that. So the best thing was, as soon as we set up our brokerage, and I called all my existing clients, and I was like, by the way, I've set up, they were like, that's the best thing you've ever done. You know, and they were like, this music to my ears, Dylan. So that's what it was birthed out of. And that's really, I think if you're solving a problem and you're fulfilling a need, it's a lot easier than just saying, I want to set up a brokerage because I want to own my own company, I want to make money, whatever it is. That wasn't it for us. Like the money's not the reason we're doing it. It's because we're in this game for a long time. We want to form long relationships, and we want to deliver great service. And the only way for us to ensure that happening is to set up our own company.
Okay. And you said you're servicing an end of the market, which is pretty much high end. How are these clients different from, you know, the mid-mass market kind of segment, right? Like what do they want from you that others just don't need, right? Like, so the reason that you need quality assurance throughout that entire process is because they have a certain expectation. What is that expectation that you think is different from, you know?
Well, I think one of the main things is discretion. You know, I think a lot of property owners in Dubai, they'll understand this. As soon as you buy a property, your details are now in that brokerage firm's system, and all of a sudden you'll be getting calls of the new brokers in that company who have been told to call your number because they know you're a property owner, and now they're trying to make you sell that property even though you've only bought it 2 months ago, or they're trying to sell you something else that you haven't asked for, that doesn't suit your needs because that broker has actually never met you. You know, like the broker that sold you the property is on to the next thing, and now this one's picking up the scraps. Do you know what I mean? It's that we didn't like that format, and especially when you're dealing with the high end of the market. Their time is money. Their time is money. So if their phone is ringing from these new brokers trying to sell them stuff, it's honestly, I've sat down with clients and the phone's just zzz, 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 and they're saying to me, they're like, "Down there you go. There's another number I need to block. There's another number I need to block." Honestly, they've showed me that their WhatsApps are crazy, just with messages every single day, calls every single day. So again, that they value that discretion because they don't want to be hassled. They want a hassle-free investment. Your investment should be hassle-free. You know, and if someone can, if we can, you know, alleviate that pain that you're getting from the current mass market model, then that's really it. It's the discretion, it's the hassle-free is what they want, and that's what we're providing.
And that's awesome, because in a place like Dubai, like, you know, where you have so many ultra high net worth people, like that's so important, right? You know, you come from Glasgow, and what's the biggest misconception that people in Glasgow have of people in Dubai? You know,
I had a friend visiting this week from Glasgow, and he was telling me a bit about what people think back there and what people think about me doing this out here. And you know what it is? They all see the surface level. And a lot of people look at Dubai and they see the surface level because this is the best place in the world. We have the tallest building in the world, the biggest mall in the world, everything like is the biggest, the tallest, the longest, whatever it is. So people look at the surface level and they just think, oh, it's flashy, materialistic, whatever. People there are just money hungry. That's honestly the misconception they have back home. But it's because they can see the surface, and the surface is amazing. It's incredible. You know, it is like you see the cherry on the top of the cake, but you don't see all the stuff below. So, but when you actually come here and you actually move here, the infrastructure behind the city, the people here, the mixture of people, the energy you feel about the city, you know, I believe that you are a product of your environment, and if your environment is constantly growing, expanding, and I mean, you look around at the skyline, it changes every year. That in itself is so healthy for you to be involved in that environment, because you see that and you can't help but grow with it. So that's honestly, this place what this has done for me in a short amount of time is absolutely incredible. And then for people, you know, in other parts of the world who haven't even been here, they've not even visited here, they don't know anyone here, but they pass judgment on it. I just think it's crazy. If someone's out here happy doing what they want, and you know, you can literally see them seeing success, you should be happy for them. You shouldn't take it back. But no, I think that's the main misconception, is it's just, you know, they see it as more of like a holiday or whatever it is, or, you know, you go there for a couple of years and then leave. No, this is now people's homes. This is their life. People are moving their entire family, their business, everything, for want of a better life, for want of better income, for want of even just safety is, you know, safety is beyond incredible here. So all of those things are so valuable, and people don't see that because they pass judgment just at the surface level.
And it's interesting because like I've been here my whole life, right? Like as in, well, I grew up here, and that was probably when we had like 1 million people or 500,000, like, you know, something like that, maybe a little bit more. And I see what you're talking about, like in the terms of like the skylines just keep going up.
I mean, you've seen everything.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like pretty much, right? We've seen it from, and we didn't exactly live in Palm Jumeirah when we started out, that's for sure. There's another like entire side of Dubai, which is literally people that are coming here with like, you know, a bag and like a dream and some hustle, pretty much, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, for that, like I get what you're saying, and I think people don't see the fact that the city is a startup city in itself, right? Like there's no other city that's grown at the trajectory that Dubai has grown at.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you know, and we're in direct comparison with New York, London, and Dubai, right? Like that's kind of the
without a doubt,
trio, right? London has, you know, interesting things going on, and so does New York. But at the same time, at the rate that we're going, if we were as old as any of those cities, I would say we would be number one. And I think we're number one in a lot of different contexts. But anyway, so we were talking about Glasgow. Your family is back there.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this before in the sense that our families are the reason that we get to do the things that we do.
Yeah, exactly.
The risks that we take are because they did what they did. How did they feel about like your life now? And like, you know, obviously, what are the things that you feel like you can do for them now that, you know, before may not have been as easy to do?
Well, I think they're definitely proud of what I'm doing out here. They always knew I was going to fly the nest. From a young age, I was always looking outward. I wasn't looking inward, you know. And I maybe stressed out my parents a lot when I was, even just when I dropped out of uni, and for those 4 or 5 years where I was taking up odd jobs, I was doing random things, flying off to America, living there for a bit, coming back. You know, I just wanted to, have experiences and get stories and meet people. And I think for a while my parents were probably a little bit stressed, like, what's going on? What's he doing? You know, he's left a mechanical engineering degree at the University of Edinburgh to go and do whatever. But they're seeing it all pay off now, and they've always believed in me, and they always knew that I had something inside me, this dream that I was constantly chasing, that, you know, I was going to turn to reality. And I think they've always seen that. But yeah, and the second part of your question, that the stuff that I can now do is I can now give back to them. Everything that's happened in my life, I owe it to the risks that they took
100%.
To bring me up and give me a good start in life. So, you know, now that I can actually repay that, and, you know, send them on a holiday, and you know, go back and get them nice presents, or, you know, when they fly out here, I flew my mum out business class before I'd even flown business class. I was like, I want to give my mum a business class flight before I experience it, because that's how I want to repay. And she loved it. She sent me videos, photos, everything. She was loving it, and it was an incredible feeling to be able to go like, wow, I'm actually in a position now where I can actually do things like that, and I can repay the people who have given me so much. They've given me blood, sweat, and tears. They've given me years of their life, and now I can actually repay that. And that's everything I want to do is for the family name. It's you know, for
I heard about that one. I heard about the Emaar Towers and the Ferguson Towers. So okay, tell me about that. You want to build a building?
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Make buildings great again.
exactly. But that's something me and Zay have actually brainstormed again, just talking about, like, we want that's the level we want to get to. That's the heights we want to reach. And why not? Who's gonna stop us? No one. I mean, like, even as getting as far as we have already, people would have said it's not possible. And certain things we've done, they say it's not possible. But, you know, everything's possible out here. If you have a dream and a drive, then I honestly believe it's the Dubai dream now. It's no longer the American dream.
100%.
You know, it's the Middle East dream. It's Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi. This is the place. The Middle East is here to stay. It is growing, and honestly, all the eyes are turning this way. And all these other cities in the world, it's so difficult for people to actually make a good living there. I was talking to my friend recently from back home, and he was like, you know, his parents are working so hard, and at the end of the month they're really left with nothing. And it's like, you're not getting rewarded for back home in these cities anymore. Whereas out here, it's the total opposite. It's an abundance culture out here. Like I say, the city's growing. It's in a city of abundance, and you can't help but fall into that same sort of trajectory. And you know, if you have that abundance mindset of wealth, knowledge, growth, whatever it is, then it's game over. So it's the Dubai dream, 100%.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. A lot of people come here because it's tax-free and things like that. Honestly, if they introduced a tax, like a direct tax, and there was like, you know, proportional benefits, I would still be here.
You wouldn't grudge paying it. And that's what I've said a million times, because back in the UK, I'd pay my tax, I'd pay my national insurance, I'd go outside, and the pothole that's been outside, you probably don't even know what a pothole is, but you know what I mean? You go outside and there's a pothole right beside your car and it's not been fixed for 3 months, and you're thinking, well, where is all this money going? Do you know what I mean? You go to the hospital, the NHS, and you're waiting there for 5 hours while you're bleeding out, you need stitches, whatever it is. Horrible. Whereas over here, they're already putting so much, they already build so much for the people. Everything already here is already for the people. So even if they were to introduce an income tax, you wouldn't be like, I'm paying this for nothing, it's going nowhere. At least I mean, sure, it'd be a little bit sore to pay it, but I mean, you'd pay it and be like, you know what, I can rest happy that they're doing this for me. The money they're collecting is coming back into this economy, this culture, this place, the environment, and you would see it. Like, we already see it.
100%, right? Like, the safety itself is unparalleled, right? If I go to London, like, oh my God, I'm scared to carry my own phone. I don't take my wallet anymore. It's just, and no watches, nothing like that, right? It's just, I don't feel comfortable. Like, in all these cities, I'm looking over my shoulder.
And yet people say that's a free country, it's a free city. And it's like, how is there freedom if you can't wear your stuff out, if you don't feel safe, if you can't own a Range Rover anymore? They're telling you not to buy Range Rovers because you can't get them insured because they're everyone's stealing them. You know, and it's, how is that free? How is that freedom? Whereas here, you can, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this in a podcast, but I don't lock my apartment. I leave it open. Just leave it open. And people go in and out, you know, whoever, if there's a delivery, I'm like, Amazon delivery, just open the door and put it in, whatever. It's incredible. It's just free flowing. People don't lock their cars, nothing. It's, and because everyone has that trust, like, if they're every tier of society out here, everyone's trustworthy, everyone's safe, everyone's here, and they value the safety here. So no one's ever going to break that sacred bond 100%. Because otherwise the entire system would fail. And as well, obviously, you know, they actually enforce the rules here. So and if anything goes, you know, if anyone was to do any of those things, then, you know, if they're deported or whatever. And it's the way it should be. There should be, you know, repercussions for these actions. Otherwise, you end up with a city where you can't buy Range Rover, you can't wear a watch out, you can't. Even these like Canada Goose jackets and all that sort of stuff. People are getting them robbed off their back.
You're kidding? The jackets as well, though.
The jackets. Get you for anything.
Well, we will never wear jackets, so that's never going to be a problem here. You know, I'm still having some winter hangover, and that's why I'm just like still wearing the hoodie. I'm like, no, it's not over. I'm in denial that winter is
just go to Glasgow and then. Don't complain about the cold.
It's quick. You know, it's easier to do it from here than anywhere else in the world, right? Like, hop on a plane, go to San Francisco, hop on a plane, go to Glasgow, you know? It's all like interconnected, and that's great. So you use social media very interestingly. Like, I actually found your profile because I saw your video on Keturah Reserve. I think that's the one that you both were doing. And I was just like, oh, this looks so cool. And there's like a little bit of an animation in there that editor deserves a raise, maybe, I don't know. So no, but the point is, you know, a lot of real estate agents are getting onto social media, but it's getting repetitive, right? Your property walkthroughs, your you know, becoming the community expert, and you know, I think I had Fahad Kaleem on the podcast just yesterday, and I was asking him what's emerging in real estate content. He's like, I tell my real estate agents not to make real estate content anymore. I tell them to be people first. So let's say you like cricket. You post 4 videos about cricket and then 1 video about real estate. That's his new strategy. And he runs a social media agency that caters to some of the biggest guys out here, right? And that's his strategy. And it's because people buy into people, not into products, or anything that's commoditized, right? Like, you can get anything from it. Nothing is unique anymore, right? You can buy the same watch from like 5 different brands, which has probably the same quality, right? It's all
probably made in the same factory.
Probably made in the same factory, and like, it's really high quality. But why do you choose one over the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really tough game in the real estate space right now. What do you think people are doing wrong about social media? And how are you going to approach it, like going forward as well?
Well, I see a lot of these videos, and obviously we do social media videos, but it's always with providing value at the front.
Yeah.
That has to be everything. It's like, and there's no focus on sales.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. I think people get too salesy, they get too needy, and if you're giving out that need energy, people can tell that. So you're right in the sense that, you know, you should release content that's not just about real estate, which is 100% as well what we do, and that's what our focus, because we believe a personal brand is the most valuable thing you can have today. Yeah. You know, if your personal brand, like you say, people buy into people, if you can make that one with your brand, that's why it says our names in the door. It doesn't say, you know, whatever real estate, whatever like Brown Table Real Estate. It doesn't say that. It says Brown Ferguson. Like it's our names in the door because it's our brand that's associated with it.
Right.
And that's what's important to us, because people buy from people. And then because I've been at companies where, you know, the sales happened and all that sort of stuff. I've sat down with the client and they're like, oh, I don't even know what company you're at. Yeah. And you just sold 2 of my properties and I'm buying another one through you, because they don't care. They don't care. So why does it matter what name's in the door? Whereas with us, we'll put our own names in the door and we're the ones in front of the client. So straight away, it just makes sense. It's one and the same.
Of course.
So yeah, I believe a personal brand is the most valuable thing you can build when it comes to social media. And through that, you know, you can put a bit about your company, you can put a bit about your lifestyle. You know, it can be professional, but it can also be fun. Yeah. But as long as you're providing value through everything, and I think that's what needs to be at the front. Is the value there? And if no, then it shouldn't be there. Because even in the lifestyle videos, even in, you know, talking about like cricket or whatever, right? There's value there. You know, you're going to be adding to people. It's an experience. If there's value in those things, you know, whatever it is you've learned from cricket or whatever you took away from that game or whatever. Right. So find a way to always be adding value. Yeah. And then I think that's the recipe.
Yeah. And for instance, when people follow your lifestyle, they know that you're extremely bad at bowling. Like, you know, I mean, from what I understand, you came 3rd place twice, man. What's going on?
Not twice. I won the first game. You got to let them win some, you know.
It's interesting that first game didn't make the story, but then the second game, the one where he didn't.
Okay, we'll go bowling, and then we can post in the story.
100%. You got it. So, you know, you've obviously done quite a few deals, right, in this market. Tell me about the wildest deal you've done in the context of the crazy things you've had to do to kind of get it done, you know?
Wow. I mean, I guess people think when it comes to deals or selling properties, negotiating these contracts, whatever it is, it can be done like that. And some of them are done like that. Yeah. But some of them, I've had deals last 2 months where it's just in negotiations. There's just certain things going on. People arguing over a bit of furniture or a TV on the wall. It's unbelievable. So in terms of crazy stories, I don't think I've got anything too wild. It's just sort of crazy in terms of the amount of time invested. You know, I've had these deals as well where I've invested so much time and I've not got anything out of it. Yeah. You know, I've drafted 3 or 4 contracts. You know, I've invested about 6 weeks of my time ongoing, and then at the end, it's actually one of them steps away, and it's wow. You know, that's. It's painful because you know you don't get paid for that time, and your time is the most valuable thing. But the important thing is never to go into any negotiation, never to go into any deal, whatever it is, with the thought that you're only in it for the money of the commission. You're just providing a service. That's not it. It's it's a journey. It's the experience. What like even that one that I just said that went 6 weeks of my time, 4 contracts, and nothing ended up happening. I learned so much from that experience. I had to jump over so many hurdles and jump through hoops and do all these different things. And you know, it's a problem that I've now dealt with, so that when it comes up again, it'll get solved much quicker. Yeah. And that 6 weeks, there was a lot of sort of points to address and stuff like that. So it's a learning curve, and that's it. So I've came out of that. Yeah, sure, there was no deal there was no money, there's no revenue, nothing. Yeah. But there was experience and there was a journey. Now I can say, whenever I'm faced with that again, I know exactly what to do. Yeah. So in terms of crazy stories, nothing too nuts yet.
Just disproportionate amount of effort to close deals, right?
That's exactly what it is. So sometimes you do need to kind of swallow your pride a little bit, but it's long term. I'm in this for long term, not short term.
Yeah.
what one deal, two deal, three deal. I'm not a short-term thinker. It's the relationship is always the focus, because even with that 6-week one, you know, I still kept the relationship with both clients, and we ended up doing work elsewhere. So that one might not have happened, but my focus wasn't on the deal. My focus was on the relationships. And now I've still got those relationships, and they're still going forward, so it wasn't all lost. So that should always be the focus. Like, people say deals, and all these big companies, when you get in, get deals, get money in the board, blah blah blah, but that's so impersonal. It's not, you know, I don't think that should be the focus. It should be, these are people. You know, get out and speak to as many people as you can, get as many numbers as you can, you know, have as many meetings, build as many relationships, and then the deals will be a byproduct. And that's sort of my approach to it.
You know, there's a word for that in Dubai. Do you know that? It's called
wasta.
There we go. There we go. That's how you know he's
there you go.
Some good old wasta.
Baby, please.
Have you? I have to ask. Have you ever had a cup of karak chai over here?
I have.
Oh,
I have.
There we go. You're officially approved.
I'm a fan.
You're welcome to Dubai. So, obviously we were talking about CRMs earlier, and like how different people can have access to other people's like books and things like that. As a result, clients get bombarded with crazy amount of calls.
Exactly.
Talk to me about how you're thinking about leveraging technology at Brown Ferguson.
I think it's. I mean, obviously we had to sit down about this with obviously your background and what you're doing with Kendal. But for us, our approach is much more in the traditional approach, but we're also not naive to think that technology isn't going to boost that up as well. I think there's a way that you can implement in a traditional approach, but while also having the modern technology boosting that. And our traditional approach, like I've just said, is relationships and networking. And you know, we're not listing on these portals. We're selling through our network, and because everything that comes with us is an exclusive feel to, you know, it's not out there, you know, like, you know, and people can trust us. It's not like these fake listings online and the wrong price and all that sort of stuff. So that's the traditional approach we're taking, and we're stepping away from that technology, which is these listing portals. But then, you know, we're totally open to implementing new technology, but something that's not going to hinder or take away from the quality of what we're providing. So that's what I said to you when we were talking about sort of implementing AI and everything like that. And it's how can we do that in a way that is not going to hinder the quality? It's only going to add. You know. And you know, you came up with some sort of interesting approaches, and you said, that there's definitely ways that, you know, they can work hand in hand together. So I think it's always about having an open mind, realizing the areas where the technology doesn't work, or or certain technology might be pulling you back. Realizing other areas where the technology is only going to add. It's only going to add value. It's only going to make your life easier. It's going to make the client's experience better. Then if it ticks all those boxes, 100%, let's do it. That's the right move. But if it doesn't tick even just one of those boxes,
100%.
Then
it's not like you have to use tech because tech is a thing kind of a thing. It's more, is it useful to your clients? Is it useful?
Exactly. Not just using it for the sake of it.
Exactly. Right. That's very interesting. A lot of people that run brokerages are actually quite scared of technology, right? And they don't realize how much they can inform the process that goes into implementing their tech. Usually they just think that you have to kind of sit there and take it from whatever Salesforce comes up with, or whatever a big company comes up with, and then adopt that. I do think that there is a bit of a misunderstanding on that front with, and also, to be fair, there hasn't been a dearth of prop tech companies out here for the longest time. Like, this is just happening now, right? Now you have almost, you know, a few leading companies raising north of $100 million kind of combined. But in the US, that's significantly more already, which is why that market's a little bit more mature. But to double down on your point on portals, what are they doing wrong, right? Like, because I've heard this not just here in Dubai, I've heard it in London, and I've heard it in America. So like, what's wrong with the portals? What are they getting wrong?
I mean, their technology and the portals, it's nothing to do with them. It's to do with the oversaturation, I think. And it's you know what it is? It's because agents all over the world can get a bad name. And sometimes it's rightly so. You know, sometimes like there are, and it's usually what it is it's a few agents that ruin it for the rest of us. And like they should have a bad name, rightly so. They should have a bad name, but it shouldn't take away from what the good agents are doing. And I think right now, on a lot of the portals, you're mixed in with all of them. You know, I've had clients be like, "Oh, Dylan, I've inquired on 5 listings. You're the first agent to get back to me." I'm like, "What? Just to respond? The other people aren't responding?" And they're like, yeah, you know, I'm calling them, and then they're telling me, oh no, so the property online, yeah, that one's not available, but I'll show you something similar. And it's like, but then it's got a totally different view. It's not the one I wanted. Yeah. It's do you know what I mean? And it's, so I think that's the issue with it that we faced, that our clients faced. And in all honesty, a lot of our work comes just through network, through referrals, through stuff like that. But it's not to say that technology is not useful, and it's not.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, it works for the majority of brokerages out here. It's just for us and for our clientele and what we want to do with our company, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. But yeah, you're right when you say that, like, a lot of people are scared of technology, but I don't understand that out here, because look at where you live. This place is the biggest adopter of every single technology in the world, and it doesn't see it as a threat. It sees it as a way to, this is how we're going to get ahead. This is how we're, you know, if you look at crypto and all these big countries, the UK, America, they see it as a threat. They want control. They want to know, we need to control this, somehow centralize it, all this sort of stuff. And they see it as a threat, and that's only going to hinder them. And look what's happening now. This place is expanding, because it's like, yeah, you know, let's implement crypto. Yeah. This is new technology. Let's not be scared of it. Let's embrace it. Yeah. Let's have these forums. Let's have these fintech things and crypto things, all that sort of stuff. Let's bring the people here, and let's brainstorm how we can go forward. Because you can't just say no to things. You can't just say no to growth. No, like, that's incredible technology that's been created. Yeah. Let's implement it some way. And they're implementing it in this city and in the Middle East, and it's only going to make this place honestly just rise so much faster than everywhere else in the world, which we're already seeing. Yeah,
and I think there's a lot to be said about, I mean, we speak about the UAE a lot because we live here, but even Saudi, right? Like, if you look at that market, like, there's a ton of investment going in. I was actually sitting down with someone who was pretty in the know about everything. I'll leave it at that. And I was like, hey, do you think it was worth bringing Cristiano Ronaldo to Saudi Arabia? And he was like, you know, honestly, man, at first I didn't think so, but we made that money like that. Yeah. Like, you know, because the influx that now that, you know, someone that everyone trusts sees, you know, in that Saudi market goes like, oh, the Red Sea development's awesome. NEOM is awesome. Like, and actually goes and sees these things and goes like, oh, okay, this is not just, we've been told for the longest time that this is what you should expect in this part of the world, and this is what you'll get. And then when someone from their world comes in and goes like, actually, look at this. Oh, wait, what? You have brunch cafes there? Like, oh, like, you have coffee shops that are better than, you know, anything that you could find in America. Like, that's wild. So there's a world outside of America, like, you know. So, you know, the fact that the world is being exposed to everything that's happening here now more so than ever before, I think is fundamentally changing the perception game, which I think it's the smartest thing they've ever done, bringing people like Ronaldo over here, because it's familiarizing this part of the world with the West. And the West, they have, like, we've just talked about the misconceptions of Dubai, and they had the same with Saudi, they had the same with Abu Dhabi. You know, whether it's, we call it propaganda, whatever it is back home, I mean, I think they see this place as a threat, and that's so they'll try to paint it in a bad light. But now that Saudi are like, we're not going to let that happen. You know, we'll bring your biggest star and we'll make him our star man here. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one cutting the ribbon at NEOM launch and all that sort of stuff, because and it's smart that they've done that. You know, it's familiarizing people who aren't familiar with this part of the world. They've now got a familiar face here, right? So now they're saying, okay, nice. And then all of a sudden, I mean, he's the most followed guy on Instagram, right? So anything he does and he puts out, millions of people see it anyway. So hundreds of millions. So it's I think it's the smartest thing they've ever done. 100% worth it. Yeah, and I mean, I've lived in Saudi when I was like 7 years old or something like that, and it was a very different place, right? Like, you know, the developments weren't as fast, and like there wasn't too much, you know, too many things happening. Like, whereas Dubai was always under construction. But now, if you go there, things are changing every couple of months, right? Developments all over the place. And like, you can see that it's a race to 2030, right? Yeah, and literally. You can see that Saudi is like, you know, just as they're talking about, you know, trying to become the center of the world. Become the new Europe, as you would say. Oh, dude, they're building a ski resort. Yeah, I'm so pumped for that. A ski resort in the desert. You understand how crazy that is? And then 170 kilometer long city or whatever. And
oh, wow, honestly. And when I seen these concepts, I thought, okay, they're concepts. They're never going to happen.
Yeah.
I should never have doubted it because they've done it. The construction for the line's already started. Same for Trojena, which is a ski resort, Neom, everything. It's all started. It's all beginning. They're already, breaking ground, which is unbelievable. So I cannot wait to see that part of the world when it's finished.
Yeah. So the Dubai kids will not be going only to St. Moritz anymore.
Yeah.
We will also be going to Saudi Arabia. So I'm excited. But okay, that's we've had a good, interesting chat about real estate. We've talked about social media. We've talked about tech. I want to go back to 21-year-old Dylan.
Okay.
And if you were to talk to him today, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
You know what's crazy is I was actually thinking about this on the way over. It was a podcast I was listening to, and they were saying how hindsight's 20/20, right? And you look back and you say, if only I did this at some point, if only I came to Dubai sooner, if only I, whatever it is. But then you realize that's impossible. You look at the version of yourself. They made the decisions that they made because they were in that moment, and that's the person they were at the time, and it's built that character to get here. So I think if I looked back at 21-year-old Dylan, I wouldn't even say anything. I wouldn't even go to him, oh, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Because then he wouldn't have that slight fear in his mind that, do you know what I mean? Then he'd probably relax. He'd take his foot off the gas. I probably wouldn't even, I just look at him and be like, I wouldn't say a single thing. I'd be like, just keep doing what you're doing. Figure it out. Go through those problems. Go through that, that stress, those nights of like tears and anxiety, whatever it is, like go through it and experience it, because it's going to build you to who you are today. And I wouldn't change where I am. I mean, I think had I made different decisions in life, I could be further forward in some way at this age. But then I realized, I'm 25. So where I am just now is pretty damn good, I think. And I wouldn't want to change anything. I honestly believe this is, whether you believe in divine intervention or if, whatever it is, I do believe I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm here for a reason. And I always think it's crazy. I said this to Zay one of the first times I met her. I think we were doing a viewing and we were seeing the sunset over the skyline of Dubai. We're in Fountain View, so you see the whole of the skyline. Like with the bird, it becomes a full silhouette, everything like that. And it was incredible. And it was one of the first times I'd seen that from that height in that apartment, in that building. And we're standing there watching it. And I was just like, do you not think it's crazy how every little decision you've ever made in life has got you here?
No.
And if you made one slight change, one slight alteration, whatever it is, even me going back and saying, don't worry, it's going to be all right, you might not have ended up here. So I said it to her and she was like, that's honestly, I think that every single day here. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's like the butterfly effect. If you changed one thing, you don't know what would happen. So you're here today because of all the mistakes, all the trials and tribulations, all the successes, all the whatever it is, all the heartbreaks, all the, that's, that is why you're here today. Because of all of that, it's painted a picture, right?
Right. So. And it's kind of like Steve Jobs was saying, like connecting the dots, looking backwards, right? Because when you're in it, you can't really see it. But when you look at it in hindsight,
I think that's the thing that we're probably quite bad for here in Dubai. I know me and definitely my circle is staying present in the moment, because this is a fast-paced city and it is so incredible, and so much is happening. It is hard to just sit in the moment and just take it all in. Like even the view I have from my apartment, it's an incredible view, and I walk past it every day without even looking at it. And then I remember when I went back to the UK at Christmas, and I came back out again. I walked into the apartment after not being there for 3 weeks, and I was like, whoa. I was like, this view is incredible. It's over the birds. You see the Burj Al Arab in the distance, the sea, the ocean, everything. 52nd floor. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I take this for granted. And now it's back to the stage where I'm walking past it every day, not even looking at it twice, which is crazy. Yeah. But it's like, you know what, sometimes I need to catch myself and I need to be like, you know what, be present in the moment, appreciate the place you are, appreciate what you're doing, appreciate the people that you're with. Yeah. And just absorb it all, because, it's not going to be forever. And we're going to look back on these days in a year or 2, 3 time and go like, wow, I wish you just enjoyed it a little more and had a little more fun, and because it was all going to work out anyway, Yeah. So.
Yeah, you heard it here, guys. Go bowling sometimes. No, but Dylan, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. Of course. So that's been this episode of The Real Ones, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, depending on what platform you're on. Again, we're going to be bringing together all of the industry leaders pretty much. And that's really what our focus is. We want to bridge this divide between social media, tech, and real estate, right? We think that these are huge pillars that are converging, and we want to be at the center of it. And I'm excited to continue the conversation. So thanks, Dylan. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Definitely. Thanks, Joel. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.